the websites, whatever we are using right now. And we have to know what are the web application flaws and how to overcome all these flaws. And for example, we have this google.com, right? And it is highly protected. And how we can say it is highly protected as it has strong security information in them, and they have strong security to prevent from third party access. Google have millions and millions of data stored in them. So in case of breaking the security, they have to compromise a firewall. So that is a security implemented for each and every web application. We used to say that as web application firewall, WAF. So while talking about the security, from whom we have to secure our web applications and how it can be secured, we have to know about the vulnerabilities. Only if you know the vulnerabilities, you will be able to get how it can be secured safely. So, talking about vulnerabilities in case of web applications, there are certain set of information available like common vulnerabilities available. Common vulnerabilities in the sense the websites that are affected commonly with certain attacks. So in that case, for example, there is a there are some top 10 vulnerabilities that is analyzed by OWASP. So we have to know what is OWASP. OWASP is nothing but Open Web Application Security Project. And this is a non-profit organization focused on software security. Their projects include a number of open source software development programs and toolkits. So, why do they choose a top 10 list? So, they have strong understanding that the web applications are affected some certain 10 set of, and this is listed as 10, but there are many vulnerabilities apart from these are available. And that is, they are compromising the firewall, they are compromising the network. So, it may differ. But right now, we have this list, and this list is designed in a way on how to secure that are how to secure all the risks faced by web applications. So here we go. This OAS have ensure that we have a secure code practice. Secure code practice in the sense how to securely develop the web applications. So how to secure and how to prevent and protect from third party access. So these are top 10 vulnerabilities that is found in 2017 and they have labeled as A1 till A10. A1 is injection, A2 is broken authentication, A3 is sensitive data exposure, A4 is XML external entities, A5 broken access control, and the next one is security misconfiguration, A7 cross-site scripting, A8 insecure deserialization. You and A9 using components with known vulnerabilities, and next one is insufficient logging and monitoring. So according to the survey of how the web applications are affected, they have classified and also labeled with 1 till 10. And we have the comparison of old, that is the previous 2013 and 2017, and how it is framed. So they have just changed this insecure object, direct object references merged with ASIN. So we have this broken access control and we have this insufficient attack protection. That is a new one. And this is the new configuration. And 2021 has different set of uh, proposal. So A1, as usual, each and every web application is vulnerable to the injections. And A2 is broken authentication, and A3 is cross-site scripting. And in 2021, we have this A4 as sensitive data exposure. So sensitive data exposure is with the sensitive data like credentials, like credit cards, so all this information. So and next one is insecure deserialization, and then broken access control, insufficient logging and monitoring. And the new one here they have given is server-side request forgery. And next one is known vulnerabilities and security misconfiguration. So we are focusing on all the top 10 vulnerabilities, and we are finding a solution for each and every vulnerability and producing a solution. So other vulnerabilities are, so compromised passwords from other websites, access via malicious insiders credentials, compromised passwords from other websites, and it has some percentage 6.3, 6.3, 6.3, and malicious website scraping, physical theft, attacks via physical equipment, and malware and phishing, RDP exploits. So these are different set of vulnerabilities available. So we have to know what are the threat levels and how these can be ensured from attacks and how these can be protected from other attacks. So we have this broken access control, and we have to know how this is analyzed. So there are some 94.55 percentage of analysis have provided data, how these are getting the list in the top and how it is moved towards to the end. And we have this 2021 threat levels and cryptographic. The second one is cryptographic failures. Third one is injection. Fourth one is insecure design. Fifth one is security misconfiguration. So they have just analyzed and proven that there are bugs and how they have got all the information, how the website are being hacked. So in case of cybercrime, they have to analyze how the process happened, how the attack happened. So, what were the flaws available, and how many websites were getting attacked by this particular vulnerability? So, we should know how these are working, and also we should know how to get a solution for these vulnerabilities. So, the best one is we should go for a secure code practice. Secure code practice, in the sense, we have to make sure all the programmers know how to program it with well security implementation. So well security implementation is each and every program have a flaw as well as a security concern associated with that. So they have to know what are the statements or what are the syntax they can implement to avoid these securities or security flaws. So in that case, we have to know the first one, like injection attacks. It's kind of injecting something within a code. So topping the list for the third type is in a row is an injection vulnerability. And this is nothing but when an attacker sends malicious data as part of a command or query to an interpreter. So he's injecting something within a code. For example, we go with this SQL injection. So we have to know how this SQL injection is, SQL is working. SQL is nothing but a structured query language. So how the structured query language is vulnerable to these kind of injection attacks. So there are many statements available where we can inject some extra codes or extra statements along with the existing one and make it vulnerable, and we can collect the data. So when does it happen? So the application failure to filter, validate, or sanitize user input. So this is mainly creating problem whenever we are trying to give input through forms. So whenever you go for a web application, we need to register it. So in that case, you have to give the personal information like username, password creation, confirm the password, and your phone number, your email address. So websites will always be presented with the following predicament. So if user input is required for the application to function as intended, there will always be malicious users who attempt to exploit this by sending unexpected or unintended data. Most of the attackers are targeting the passwords. So we have many password attacks, and the credentials were stolen from different social media sites. That is to do a intentional and unintentional attack. For example, students are collecting this data. Just they are cracking the passwords to poke into their friends' information. That's it. And for attackers, it is a kind of financial benefit. So they are doing that for a financial benefit. The other major cause of injection attacks is due to failure to implement parameterization. So we should know how to secure it. So secure is nothing but the secure code practice. Vulnerable queries or commands are those which concatenate user input directly into the call, allowing an attacker to alter its intention function via malicious input. So injection type. The topmost injection is SQL injection. We used to say that as SQLI. And next comes the cross-site scripting. And these are not the only ones. There are different types of injection attacks available. So we have this SQL injection. So this is a major flaw that the web applications are facing right now. So SQL injection is a web security flaw that allows the attacker to potentially change the SQL queries that are run against the database. So we are running on this. SQL is nothing but a structured query language which works with the databases. For example, we are having a web application which needs to register the new users. So in that case, you'll be asked, you'll be provided with the form with a name, first name, last name, your email address, your age, your phone number, your date of birth. All these are entered in a form, right? And it is a kind of input. And you're viewing the form in the front end. That is done with the help of HTML or JavaScript. So, and after getting all these data, where these data are stored? So, these data are stored in a database. So, in that case, each and every application that acquires to register their user information is stored in a database. And the retrieval of database is done with the help of the credentials like username and the password. So in case of Facebook, there are millions and millions of users registered with Facebook. And in case of Insta, we have millions and millions of users registered. How we are getting, like just we are giving our own username and password, we are retrieving our data, right? So how this is analyzed? So it is a kind of select query. It is selecting the user from the database provided with the credentials, whatever credentials you have. It may be an email address and the correct password. So these are stored in the databases and retrieved. So this may be used to extract sensitive information such as database structure, tables, columns, as well as their data. SQL injections are one of the most dangerous online application vulnerabilities, and they're always on the CWE common vulnerability. And there are some list of vulnerabilities available and registered, and improper sanitization over these queries. So these queries can also be secured. So how we can secure it? With the help of some prepared statement. So there are secure code practices are also available. So the programmer should know how to implement the secure code practice. Next one is cross-site scripting. And this is an online application vulnerability that enables a third party to run a script. Script in a sense, it's a kind of code, a simple code, an alert code that can be injected directly. So it helps to work with the browser and the browser application. Next, the cross-site scripting is among the most common online vulnerabilities. So we have to know how, we used to say that as XSS attacks, and they have common major implications such as redirecting users to a malicious website or collecting session cookies and gaining control of the user session. So collecting cookies will store the credentials. So that will help to retrieve the data. Next one is OS command injection. So this is a kind of shell injection, and this is a vulnerability that allows a user or attacker to execute arbitrary commands over the server of a running application. The operating system runs the inserted arbitrary commands with the web server's privileges. These command injection flaws by themselves do not result in a complete system breach, but attackers can use privilege escalation and other vulnerabilities to gain access to them. So this can be injected directly to the operating system, or we used to say that as shell injection, and that is done with the operating system memory. Next one is what is broken authentication. So we have to know what is broken authentication. It is typically caused by poorly implemented authentication and session management functions. So what is session management? Session management is nothing but a key or encrypted value that can be generated whenever the web application is running. So the session key will be randomly changing then and there in order to prevent the attack. So we should know. And also, this broken authentications aim to take over one or more accounts, giving the attacker the same privileges as the attacked used user. Authentication is broken when attackers are able to compromise a password. So, if they are able to compromise a password and also if they are able to decrypt the keys, and these keys are hash values, and we can retrieve it from web applications, and we have this session tokens, user account information, and other details to assume their identities. So, due to poor design and implementation of identity and access controls, so in case of passwords, we should follow a strict instruction that predictable login credentials should not be used. That is a risk factor. Predictable login credentials in the sense we should not use our names. We should not give easy or easily observable passwords. So we have a text file in Google on rainbow tables. We used to say that as password.txt, which has commonly used passwords. So commonly used passwords are a simple password like 4 digits or 3 digits. Just it may be a number, it may be an alphabet, or it may be alphanumeric value, but that seems to be very simple and easily crackable. User authentication credentials that are not protected when stored. So it should be protected. For example, in case of Windows, we have all the credentials stored as a hash value. It is converted as a hash value and it is stored in a SAM folder in the registry. In case of Windows application, we have the SAM folder. And in case of different other applications, we have to store the password as a hash value. And if it is salted, it will be well and good. That is very hard to crack. But even implementing these many preventive measures, it helps or it can be easily retrieved with the help of this Hashcat and Hydra. You might have known about this John the Ripper, Hashcat, Hydra. So John the Ripper, Hashcat, all these are offline attacks, and where Hydra is an online attack. So Hydra, John the Ripper plays very important and very some interesting factor associated with that particular tool, and it has a rock.txt where it helps to just match the password and retrieve the password or crack the password, even if it is hash. But the people that is the cracker or attacker should know how to use this tool, John the Ripper. So it is very hard to know about the tool. And if you once you come to know about this tool, then it will be easy to crack it and retrieve the password. Session ID is exposed in the URL. So URL should not expose the session IDs. So in case of Wireshark, we can just retrieve the session IDs. It is very easy to retrieve the session ID. And session value that does not timeout or get invalidated after logout. Session ID is vulnerable to session fixation attacks. Session IDs that are not rotated after successful login. Passwords, session IDs, and other credentials sent over unencrypted connections. So unencrypted connection in the sense if the IP security is not provided or network segmentation is not done or it is not sent via a secure channel. That is, we used to say that as SSH, and you might have known about this TLS and SSL. So in case of HTTP, we should know how this TLS and SSL are working. And right now we are using this TLS 1.3. So it should not be downgraded. There are many aspects working with the security. So how do I prevent broken authentication attacks and session management attacks? That is, we have to know it should meet all the authentication and session management requirements defined in OWASP application, security verification standards, areas V2 authentication and V3 session management. Have a simple interface for developers. Consider the ESAPI authenticator and user APIs as good examples to emulate, use, or build upon. So strong effort should be made to avoid XSS flaws, which can be used to steal session IDs. So how do WAFs help in solving the bug problem? So WAF is used to validate the sessions, prevent broken authentication attack, and WAF does this by setting a collection of variables which store the session ID and related information when it is created and sent to the client from the server. Every time the client sends a subsequent request, the WAF intercepts it and checks to see if a valid session ID has been sent. So validity will depend on various factors, including a time period. So it should be working on a certain time period, and it should know how to validate it and how to, for example, I'm having a car and I'm holding a key. I have to use the same key to open the car door every time, right? So in that case, if in order to make it more secure, I'm changing the key every time, and I'm just locking the car and unlocking the car. So it's a kind of changing the key every time and to unlock the session. Next one is cryptographic failures. So we should know what data are exposed to attack. So most of the confidential data like passwords and credit card informations or the credentials are very sensitive data. So this shifting up one question, so previously known as sensitive data exposure, which is more of a broad symptom rather than a root cause. The focus is on failures related to cryptography. So strong authentication method is not used. So here, the first thing is to determine the protection needs to data in transit and at rest. For example, passwords, credit card numbers, health records, personal information and business secrets require extra protection, mainly if that data falls under privacy laws. So we have this GDPR and we have this PCI DSS. So these are some compliances that is regulation implemented to regulate the flaws and prevent from the flaws. And these are example of attack scenarios. So in this, what will happen if there is, for example, we have this an application encrypts credit card numbers in a database using automatic data encryption. However, this data is automatically decrypted when retrieved, allowing SQL injection to retrieve credit card numbers in clear text. So here we are implementing some data obfuscation. So data obfuscation is nothing but making the text into a non-readable or not predictable format. And next one is a site doesn't use or enforce TLS for all pages, supports weak encryption. An attacker monitors network traffic, downgrades connection in the sense we have this secure connection from we have implemented this secure connection from HTTP to HTTPS, and we should know what is downgrading. So making the connection from the secure connection to a non-secure connection, and this can be done with we have this secure connection with TLS version 1.3. It can be downgraded to 1.2. So in that case, there may be some flaws where the session hijacking can be done, and just replaying the cookies once acquired the cookie information, and they can easily grab all the information that is transmitted. Next scenario is the password database uses unsalted. So unsalted in the sense adding some more value to the end of a password that is encrypted, and again encrypting with the hashing and providing the resulting value. That is the adding some value to the existing encrypted value. So that is salted. So if it is not done, then it will be easily reversed. The encryption can be reversed with the help of decryption. Next one is insecure design. When designing application, developers are recommended to use secure design patterns diligently planned threat modeling, reference architectures that keep the application free of security gaps. Lack of effective security controls in the design phase often results in an application being susceptible to many weaknesses, collectively known as insecure design vulnerabilities. This article, this is how to ignore this design and what is the architectural best practice. So we have to plan, and we have to before starting the development, they have to plan how to implement this secure design. So we should know what are the list that have insecurity and how the flaws are determined, how they are getting the clear information. So we have to know how these are working, and we have to totally work on secure code practice. So what are insecure design vulnerabilities? So insecure design vulnerabilities arises when developers do a QA and security teams fail to anticipate and evaluate threats. So we have to analyze what were the previous flaws and what are the vulnerabilities available while designing an application. As the threat landscape evolves, mitigating design vulnerabilities requires consistent threat modeling to prevent known attack methods. So, without a secure design, it is difficult to detect and remediate architectural flaws such as unprotected storage of credentials. So, credentials should not be stored as a plain text. So, it will be very harmful or it can be easily retrieved. So it should be stored as an encrypted or hashes. So that will help to protect the credentials. So even while we are transmitting the data, it should be hashed. Security, misconfiguration, vulnerability. So we have this is the main thing. Like if your security or is your application is vulnerable with the improper architectural design. So in that case, missing we have to look into some certain steps. So those are the application might be vulnerable if the application is when so missing appropriate security hardening across any part of the application stack or improperly configured permissions on cloud services. So if that is mainly if you go with the third party solutions for a backup, normally what we are doing after COVID, most of the organizations are just analyzing the risk factor, and for the risk management, they are having a strong backup with cloud to keep the business running. So if the cloud platform is not in a very secure way, then it will be a flaw. Their data will be leaked. So we have, and we are subjected to create a security in our own workspace. We can create a strong security for our own network and our own space. So we should know how these cloud services are. Apart from this, cloud services also provide their own security. We can create a private cloud, and we can have this private cloud. We have this virtual private cloud, just like a VPN. We have this load balancers. We have this firewalls, and these are some of the security that is implemented for networked architecture. So we should be clear with how these are implemented, and there should not be any flaw. If we have mistakenly given the not given with any VPC, then automatically it will be a problem. So in that case, we should know how these are working, how to enable it. Unnecessary features are enabled or installed. So this will allow to do a port forwarding to your port so that the hacker can just intercept and listen to your port and get the data. And default accounts and the passwords are still enabled and unchanged. Default accounts in the sense, if an employee have left the organization and if his account is still active, then it is vulnerable for any kind of attack. Anyone can now log in with his name and they can steal the data. So error handling reveals stack traces or other overly informative error messages to users. For upgraded systems, the latest security features are disabled or not configured securely. The security setting in the application servers, application frameworks, libraries, databases are not set to secure values. So there are so many secure coding information available with each and every language we use for development. Okay, we should know how to implement the secure code practice with all other languages available. The server does not send security headers or directives, or they're not set to set those secure values. If the software is outdated, then automatically it is vulnerable. So these are the attack scenarios. The application server comes with sample applications not removed from the production server. These sample applications have known security flaws. Attackers use to compromise the server, and suppose one of these applications is the admin console. So if the attacker know how to develop a web application, and if the attacker knows how to retrieve the data, then it will be easy for him to crack with the if it is given the default password. So he will be just checking with the cookies and he'll be collecting all the flaw in a particular application to make an attack. And then directory listing is not disabled on the server. An attacker discovers they can simply list directories. The attacker finds and downloads the compiled Java classes, which they decompile and reverse engineer to view the code. So the attacker when then finds a severe access control flaw in the application. And next one is the application service configuration allows detailed error messages, stack traces to be returned to users. This potentially exposes sensitive information or underlying flaws such as component versions that are known to be vulnerable. A cloud service provider, next one is a cloud service provider has default sharing permissions open to the internet by other CSP users. This allows sensitive data stored within cloud storage to be accessed. So next one is vulnerable and outdated components. So we are not supposed to use any vulnerable or outdated components. That's why we have this automatic updates in our system, then and there for each and every application we have. And also our firewall will be monitoring all the traffic, whether it has any vulnerability or it is carrying any malicious code. So we should be monitoring 24 up. We in the sense the firewall. The firewall should be monitoring all the 24 bar 7, all the activities 24 bar 7, 365 days. So we have this likely vulnerable. If you do not know the versions of all components, you use that is, we have both client side and a server side. So we should know about the latest version. So for example, as I said, we have this TLS 1.3, that is a version, and 1.2 is the previous version. So in case of using a outdated version, it will lead to a flaw, or the system, the application itself is vulnerable to the attacks. This includes components you directly use as well as nested dependencies. If the software is vulnerable, unsupported, or out of date, this includes the OS, web application server, database management system applications, APIs, and all other components, runtime environments, and libraries. If you do not scan for vulnerabilities regularly and subscribe to security bulletins related to the components you use, if you do not fix or upgrade the underlying platform, frameworks, and dependencies in a risk-based, timely fashion, this commonly happens in environments when patching is a monthly or quarterly task under change control, leaving organization open to days or months of unnecessary exposure to fixed vulnerability. If software developers do not test the compatibility of updated, upgraded, or patched libraries, if you do not secure the components configurations. So here is the attack scenario. The components typically run with the same privileges as the application itself. So flaws in any component can result in serious impact. Such flaws can be accidental or intentional. Some example exploitable component vulnerabilities discovered are CVE 2017-5638. And we have different set of codes for different vulnerabilities, and these are available with the CVE standard. So we should know where these are, how these are identified and how it is reported, and we can have a resulting value for each and every CVE we have. So as struts to remote code execution vulnerability that enables the execution of arbitrary code on the server has been blamed for significant breaches. While the Internet of Things is frequently difficult or impossible to patch, the importance of patching them can be great. So we should know how to patch, or we should update the system then and there. So once there is a patch, there will be an update. So if there is a flaw, there will be a patch. If there is a patch, then there will be an update. So we should know when we need to update and when we need to use the update, just install all the updates. And there are automated tools to help attackers find unpatched or misconfigured systems. For example, Shodan IoT search engine can help you find devices that still suffer from Heartbleed vulnerability patched in 2014. The next one is identification and authentication failures. So we have this broken authentication and also how to identify it. So confirmation of the user's identity, authentication, and session management. So in order to prevent DDoS attack, we have this CAPTCHA. So DDoS is nothing but distributed denial of service. So the server is denying to respond with the requested information. So a request is uh, made from the client to the server, and if the server denies, so the same request is sent from different bots. So it will make the server to feel low, and it will not respond to the request, and that is distributed denial of service. And we have this captcha to prove that you are not a bot. So if you're not a bot, then your request will be responded immediately. So capture is a kind of entering the data, whatever we visually see in the screen. Or we have this audio capture, we have this video capture, we have this picture capture. And here we have this user's identity, authentication, and session management is critical to protect against authentication related attacks. And there may be authentication weaknesses if the application permits automated attacks such as credential stuffing, where the attacker has a list of valid usernames and passwords. Permits brute force or other automated attacks. Permits default weak or well-known passwords such as password 1 or John or 1234 or admin or something like that. Uses weak or ineffective credential recovery and forgot password process such as knowledge-based answers, which cannot be made safe. So use of plain text, encrypted or weakly hashed passwords, data stores, and has missing or ineffective multi-factor authentication, exposes session identifier in the URL, reuse session identifier after successful login, does not correctly invalidate session IDs, user sessions or authentication tokens, or improperly invalidated during logout or a period of inactivity. And here are the attack scenarios. Credential stuffing, the use of list of known passwords is common attack. So does not implement automated threat or credential stuffing protection. So we have to implement that. So in that case, the application can be used as a password oracle to determine the credentials are valid. And most authentication attacks occur due to continued use of passwords as a sole factor. Once consider best practices, password rotation, and complexity requirements. So, in case of passwords, we should know the how to make the password complex. So, we should not use a plain text. So, the password should be minimum of 8 characters, and these passwords should have a combination of alphabet and numbers, and also it should have at least a uppercase one uppercase letter, special character, and numbers associated that to make it more complex. And if it is more than 8 characters, it will be well and good, but minimum of 8 characters. So these are the scenarios that we are following right now in each and every application. So next one is application session timeouts aren't set correctly. So it should be timed out with a inactivity with the application. So it should know when to log out or when to time out the sessions. Software and data integrity failures. So in case of web application, we used to get some exe files, right? So we always get exe files from any web applications, and it should prove a data integrity. So to prove a data integrity, they have a hash value associated with that. That hash values need to be checked. So we have certain commands in case of SHA. We have the hashing algorithms like SHA-1, SHA-256, SHA-512, MD5, and we have many other hashing algorithms available to prove the data integrity. To prove the data integrity in the sense the data is not altered throughout the network or throughout the transmission. So it is not tampered, it is not altered. If the hash value is changed, then we can just confidently trust that the data has been changed. No need to install this application in our desktop or system, whatever it is. And here are the attack scenarios. So update without signing. Solar and many home routers, set-top boxes, device firmware, and others do not verify updates via signed firmware. Unsigned firmware is a growing target for for attackers, and is expected to only get worse. This is a major concern, as many times there is no mechanism to remediate other than to fix it in future version and wait for previous version to age out. SolarWinds malicious update and insecure deserialization. So these are the scenarios the attack may happen. So this is all about the devices, the firmware updates and the organization mechanism and attack updates need to be done then and there. And we have this insecure deserialization and React application follows a set of Spring Boot microservices. Being functional programmers, they try to ensure that their code is immutable. A solution they came up with is serializing the user state and passing it back and forth with each request. An attacker notices the Java object signature and uses the Java serial killer tool to gain remote code execution on the application side. Preventive methods or authentication, user level restrictions, testing, use of software chain security aids, follow pipeline deployment, encrypt and validate all data. And the next one is SSRF, server side request forgery. So it involves an attacker abusing server functionality to access or modify resources. The attacker targets an application that supports data imports from URLs or allows them to read data from URLs. URLs can be manipulated either by replacing with new ones or by tampering with URL path traversal. So SSRF risks are what damage SSRF might do depends entirely on the configuration of systems and attackers' inventiveness. Here are some of the common risks. So we have to know how this SSRF is getting done. So this attackers will supply the URL which is modified, the completely modify the existing one, and the server or the code running on the server reads or submits the data into it. So attackers can leverage URLs to gain access to internal data and services that are not meant to be exposed. So including HTTP enabled databases and server configuration data. Once the attacker has successfully done the tampering, the server receives it and attempts it to read the data to the altered URL, even for services that aren't exposed directly on the public internet. Attackers can select a target URL, which enables them to read the data. So security login and monitoring. So there should be a logging and monitoring, automated system logging and monitoring should be done. So in case of logging and monitoring, that is analyzing what is exactly happening over the transmission. So it should be logged. Each and every application should be logged. Each and every aspect should be logged, and how to analyze, how to view the logs. This can be done with the help of Splunk. Just we have different set of criteria to view all the application logs. So in case of Splunk, it will collect all huge data and it will forward it and it will collect, just analyze the logs. So auditable events such as logins, failed logins. So it is not only with the web application, we have this in our system as well. So we can analyze the event ID. We have high value transactions and that are not logged. And these are the vulnerabilities. So warnings and errors generate number, inadequate or unclear log messages, logs of applications and APIs are not monitored for suspicious activities. So logs are only stored locally. Appropriate altering thresholds and response escalation process are not in place or effective. Penetration testing and scans by dynamic application checker DAST. And we have this DAST and SAST. Do not trigger alert. The application cannot detect, escalate, or alert for active attacks in real time or near real time. You are vulnerable to inform leakage by making logging and altering events visible to a user or an attacker. So it is mainly with the certain databases and also retrieving data, the credentials, and they're just doing it for a financial benefit. So here is three scenarios: the children's health plan providers website or couldn't detect a breach due to a lack of monitoring and logging. An external party informed the health plan provider, then an attacker had accessed and modified thousands of sensitive health records of more than 3.5 million children. A post-incident review found that the website developers had not addressed significant vulnerabilities. As there was no logging and monitoring of the system, the data breach would have been in progress since 2013, a period of more than 7 years. So they are just vulnerable to the breaches, data breaches. A major Indian airline had a data breach involving more than 10 years worth of personal data of millions of passengers, including passport and credit card data. The data breach occurred at a third party cloud hosting provider who notified the airline of breach after some time. A major European, and third scenario, major European airline suffered a GDPR reportable breach. The breach was caused, reportedly caused by payment application security vulnerabilities exploited by attackers who harvested more than 4 lakh customer payment records. The airline was they paid a penalty of 20 million pounds as a result by the privacy regulator. So, what are the costs for the logging and monitoring failures? So, the major causes are that is not having a strong security and also not implementing the security in a proper way. Security logging and monitoring failures are frequently a factor in major security incidents. The big IP system includes advanced logging and monitoring functionality and provides security features to protect against attacks that can result from insufficient system and application logging and monitoring. Failure to sufficiently log, monitor, or report security events, such as login attempts, makes suspicious behavior difficult to detect and significantly raises the likelihood that an attacker can successfully exploit your application. For example, an attacker may probe your application or software components for known vulnerabilities over a period. So, code injection. So, these are some of the types of attacks that may result from a failure to log or monitor or report security events. So, code injection, buffer overflow, command injection, cross-site scripting, forceful browsing. So, these are certain set of events that attacks. So, the attacker will gain access to organization's internal network. Attacker runs a scanning tool to locate internal system with known vulnerabilities and obtains sensitive data. Since the organization does not follow adequate logging and monitoring practices, they are unable to detect active attacks. The data breach continues undetected for months, even for years. So this is how the security vulnerabilities are done and or just created, and it is working with each and every system, and we have to analyze it and we have to work on it. So let us have a small practice on how to find the vulnerability and what is the security implemented in with each and every web application. So here you can see google.com. Okay. So in this google.com, this is secured with HTTPS. Each and every web application you see right now, for sure, it will have a lock symbol at the top left, and it will say the connection is secure. So if you click on it, you can find how it is secure. It always hold a digital certificate. So in case of web applications, not only with web application, with many applications, we have this digital signatures and digital certificates to prove their integrity, to prove that it has only secure data and it is transmitted over any medium. And it is, and in case of websites, we have this web application, we have this digital certificate. Give me a second. Let me show you the digital certificate. So this is the digital certificate for Google. So just I clicked on the symbol, lock symbol, and I have got this connection secure. When I went to connect certificate is valid, I got this certificate. So this gives like to whom the certificate was issued, and it is issued by. So it is issued to the organization like Google, and it has a validity period, and this is valid till March 4th of 2024. Here comes the security. It has a certificate and it has a public key. So normally digital certificates are embedded with a key value as well as the hashing algorithm. So SHA-256 is a hashing algorithm implemented for Google, and we have this and it provides with the hashing value, and we have the public key. So in case of public key, we can use asymmetric mostly with this RSA. So it depends on the algorithm we use, the key value will be more secure. So if I want to check in detail, I can find like um, the certificate version, the certificate version, the certificate serial number, certificate signature algorithm. So here is PKCS SHA-256 with RSA encryption. As I said, it is a SHA-256 with RSA encryption. And the validity is not before 12/11/2023, not after 3/4/2024. And we have this public key info, elliptical curve public key is involved, and here is a key algorithm, and they have some extension certificate, key usage, extended usage, and they have different set of authentication implemented. And this is checked by the system firewall as well as the web application firewall. So whenever a web application is entering into your system, and it is through the network, right? So in that case, the router will be checking for the validity and the authenticity, and also the web application firewall will be analyzing the digital certificate whether it is valid or not. If it is not valid, it will say it is not under HTTPS. So each and every web application will have this transport layer security, and this proves that it is secure. Transport layer security in the sense it has this encrypted web application information, encrypted session IDs. So it is all about how it is getting encrypted, how these are working with the system. So, for example, I'm trying to log in with my system. Okay. So I'm trying to log into this Facebook. In case of Facebook, I'm giving some passwords like, and it is a strong password. And so I'm using this. I'm just masking the password. Wait a minute. I'm Facebook login. So I'm giving some username, and I'm trying to log in with a password. And so this is the password. So if you are still saving your password and someone is entering into your system and just retrieving the saved password, so retrieving the password will help them to log in. And in order to view the password, just they can just right click and go to inspect element. And if they change the password type, that is input type to text, you can view the password. So this is a flaw in this web application. So we can easily view the password if you change the, and this is the input, user input. So most probably the credentials can be harvested with third-party tools or by altering the codes. So right now what I did was just I went to the code and just tried the text that is implemented for the password information, and I have got this information, got the plain text. So this is very easy to retrieve the passwords. This is one of them. And the other ways to get the passwords or other ways to check your network traffic, or this Wireshark will help you to retrieve all the data. And let me show you a tool and how this tool is working. So there is a tool called Burp Suite, which helps to retrieve, or it acts as a proxy, and it will helps the user to retrieve the data that is transmitted from the browser. Give me a minute. My Bob Suite is starting. So I have this Bob Suite Community Edition. This is available with Kali Linux, and these are there are many applications available along with this Burp Suite, and this Burp Suite will hold a browser, and also we can make our browser to work with all the proxy settings. So we have to change in case of Firefox, we have to use Foxy proxy, and here there is an inbuilt browser available, and there is a Chromium browser. So if I want to capture the traffic or if I want to capture the transmission that is made request through this browser, so wherever we go, we need a browser to access the applications, right? So in that case, we have to open the browser and we are making a request. So for example, if I'm trying to get like www.google.com, and I'm hitting enter. So it says it's not secure, but in case of Chromium, it will say like that. Not a problem. Give me a second. So I'm requesting for google.com and I'm trying to check the interception. So I should get what I'm making a request. So this Burp Suite is going to act as a proxy between the request I that is made from the web browser to the web server. So here I got all the information. So here I'm requesting for google.com and this is getting the information and this is just checking for all the required data. Give me a second. So this is how the data are just retrieved. So this is not only for google.com. We can retrieve data from whatever we are requesting from the browser. So if I'm checking for something else, for example, I'm going with this Facebook. And with community edition, we have some certain restrictions. We'll not be able to access all the information. In case of pro version, we can just retrieve all the data. So I can use some other, or I can check each and every application. I can just grab the information from that. And in order to make it work, we have to turn off the intersect. Like in order to make the browser work, we have to turn off the intersect. Only then it will capture the data. Then if I go ahead and turn it on, I can get information. So what I am trying to do, I'm trying to work with facebook.com. Okay. So let me turn off the interception and let me go to Facebook and let me try to log in. Actually, I don't have an account with this name and username and password. So let me turn on the intercept and check what's happening. It has a session ID and it has many parameters, query parameters. See, if we go to the dashboard, you can, before that, let me inform this how does this happen. So it is authenticating it. So it has a login privacy. So that is a token. As I said before, there is a token that is involved with this security. Here we have this dashboard. So with this pro versions, we can identify the injection. It has a SMTP header injection. Just we can check how insecure it is and we can analyze the report and we will be getting all the information, how the request is made, how the response is made. So request is from the browser and the response is from the server. So we can check all those information here. So you can get whatever you're trying to make or trying to have a request from the browser, just you can check it here. And if I go ahead, just I can send it to the intruder. I can do or I can perform attacks with this. And let me check with the intruder. So there are attack types. We have this is sniper, battering ram, and pitchfork, cluster bomb. So these are kind of payloads that can be generated, and we can just inject within the code. So just I am selecting the token, and I have to add the data, and I can go ahead and do that. So these are different types of attacks we can perform. And if we have if we want to do SQL injection, that can also be done. And if you want to send the request again, and if you want to check it with the repeater, just you have to send it to the repeater first, and then I can check with the repeater. So what exactly is sent, and I have to check the response. So this is a kind of tool that can be used for analysis as well as that can be used for an attack. So it's mainly for scanning and reporting all the attacks. And in case of larger organization, they have this enterprise edition and they'll be working with that strongly. And they know how to work it. And if you people want to work with this, just you can create an account with this portsfigure.net and you can start working with that. There are many labs available. So we can work with this portsfigure.net. Let me show you. Yeah, the intercept is on. If the intercept is on, it will the browser will be thinking of what's going on. So we have to turn off the intercept before going for this export PORT SWIGGER. So portswigger.net. So it is all about like having hands on with the all the applications, all the vulnerabilities. So if you create an account with this, you will be able to just work with the different set of vulnerabilities, and the password will be auto generated, so you will not be able to create any password. So in that case, let me go with the forgotten password. Let me check whether I have got the previous one. It's valid for some period. Okay. So under academy, you can find and also under you should get all the web application. It's not showing me now. Okay, wait a minute. Let me check with the previous one. Oh my God. Okay, not a problem. You can find this academy, and you can find a lot of information under this academy. Like you can find with all contents. Okay, if you go with all labs. So here are the vulnerability testing labs available. So it will give you each and every lab. So SQL injection vulnerability in where class. So we have to know how to use the SQL injections. For example, let me go with this W3 SQL editor. So I have this query. This is a query, and this is a SQL command used for selecting all the information from customers. Okay, all information from the customer table. So if I run the query, I should get like what are the information that is stored in the table. It can be retrieved. So this is sample. So I'm having in the database like all this is information like customer name, contact name, address, city, postal code, all these are involved. So if I want to set or check for a person who is working or who is residing in London, so I'm giving a command like where some city name or city equals to London. So it should be within quotes as it is a text, London. And if I retrieve it, so I can find all the customers who are residing in London. So the query, the injection here is, if I give something like or 1 equals to 1. So it will be checking where city equals to London, and it will be checking or either any one of those true. Okay. And 1 will always equal to 1. So in that case, the condition will be true. So if I run this command, I can retrieve all the 91 records. I'm giving a condition to display the contents where the city equals London. And also I'm giving a injection here. This is the injection. So adding some extra or additional commands at the last will retrieve the data, the whole data. So we have certain SQL injection cheat sheet available. We can use that and retrieve the data. So attackers are using that data to retrieve it. Just like that, we are getting the information like, I'm sorry, in the lab, like where class, just inserting some value and retrieving all the data. Some of the web application will not have or will not allow the users to see some hidden data. So if you want to retrieve the hidden data, just you can use or inject this particular code at the last and you can see the result. So here the result is Use verb suite to intercept and modify the request that sets a product category filter. Modify the category parameter, giving it the value. This is the injection. So submit the request, you can retrieve all the data. So these are different set of labs where you can work with and you can get an idea about all the vulnerabilities and how these vulnerabilities are working, how to protect these vulnerabilities. The main solution is secure code practice. So that's it from my end for this web application security. So you will have the quiz now. And I want to know whether you're able to understand what I'm saying. Just raise your hand or say something in the chat. Are you guys able to understand what we have seen today about the vulnerabilities, how the vulnerabilities are working? Okay, here is a link for the quiz. Just you can start working with the quiz.